Great. So again, the speech is giving vulnerability and connecting with love. So there are many ways in our lives where if we give vulnerability to a situation, we can better connect with others and improve our relationships with others and also help them as well. So I don't know if any of you have been in a situation where you have somebody that you have to interact with either at work or in your personal life that sometimes it's just a little bit difficult to connect with them. Maybe they're stonewalling you or something, and it can be hard to break through. Well, I've also been going through a difficult situation in the past year, trying to negotiate separation from my ex-husband. And this can create a lot of situations where there is hurt and there's difficulty communicating. One of the things that I had learned growing up was this concept of fair fighting skills. And this idea is if you share how you feel about a situation when something happens, rather than making attacks on the other person, like you always do this, or you never do that, those kinds of extreme accusations and extreme language is not really a very fair way to fight because it doesn't connect you with other people. When you approach a difficult situation like that, where somebody is hurt or stonewalling with vulnerability instead, you can sometimes get much better outcomes. So instead of saying, you always do this, or you are a bad person, or anything like that, framing the situation as, I feel hurt when you say this, or I feel scared when this happens. That can give you the capacity to share with others in a way that will decrease their defenses, that will say, this isn't about them attacking me. This is about sharing with each other how we feel. And when it's more about sharing how you feel, you can decrease the tension in that relationship a lot better. Even better than that is not only sharing how you feel, but asking the other person to share how they feel and reflecting back that you can understand it. So another skill in fair fighting is to say how you feel. I feel this when this happens. How do you feel when that happens? The person expresses how they feel, and you do reflective listening to repeat back what the other person has said. So for example, if they say, I feel hurt when you don't do something on time, then you can say back to them, it sounds like you're saying that it hurts you when I don't do something on time. Why do you feel that way? Try to find out the underlying feelings. And they might say, well, it makes me think that you don't care, or something like that. There's usually an underlying feeling that goes behind why people are getting upset about the situation. Usually something that hits on their self-worth or their ego, or shows that somebody's being callous or insensitive. When in fact, when you actually express those things to other people, you can communicate back to them and communicate with them to better understand where those feelings are coming from. And sometimes the assumptions that we make about people's motives for their actions are not always right. So this idea of expressing yourself to show how you're feeling and not accuse others, and also hearing back what other people are feeling, listening to them, reflecting back, asking follow-up questions can help you get to the bottom of a very difficult situation. So you can also take this approach of vulnerability to your relationships with children or mentees, employees, or students in the case of educators like myself. So with children, modeling vulnerability for them not only helps to resolve the specific situation, but it also helps to model for them how to engage in fair and communicative relationships when they get older. So if you have a child that is struggling and can't often express how they feel because they don't always have the words to express that, you can try to observe how they're feeling and try to guess and label how they're feeling to see how they react. So this is a technique that I learned from a great book called Happiest Toddler on the Block. And it's a wonderful book for parents, but it works whether kids are toddlers or 5 or 6 and beyond. Basically, when the child is upset and not communicating their emotions, you can say to them, let's say a child is throwing a tantrum and something appears to be wrong with their tablet. You can say, you're feeling angry. You're feeling angry because your tablet's not working. And then that will help the child to calm down because they feel understood. There's that one piece of frustration and sadness that we all have of not being understood that goes away when the parent is able to help the child label those emotions. So to say in this kind of caveman voice, you're angry, it's not working. And then you can try to talk to them about how to fix it. Okay, well, let's go take a look, or if it's something like they can't have something that they really want. They want a cookie, they've had too much sugar that day. And say, you're mad, you want a cookie. But it's not healthy. That's a lot of sugar for one day, but you know what? You can have a cookie tomorrow, okay? And you try to acknowledge and empathize with their frustration before you tell them what they can't do, rather than just getting upset and saying, no, quit asking for more cookies. You try to empathize with their emotions. You say, you're angry. Yeah, it's okay to be angry at that. Let's see what we can do to fix it. Again, this approach of modeling for kids how to label and communicate their emotions. It's going to help in the moment, making that tantrum go away, but it also helps long-term in teaching them how to identify and communicate their emotions, which will help them in their relationships later in life. You can also do the same with students. So it becomes a little bit more sophisticated when you have students going through a difficult situation. I had a student who told me that she had some trouble with reading all of the material that was assigned for law school. I'm a law school professor, and these reading material pieces can be very long, sometimes 20, 30, 40 pages for one class worth of reading. And some students really struggle with that. And so I had a student that come to me and expressed, I just can't get through all of this. I can't focus. My brain, just starts going in every direction when I'm trying to read this. And I tried to open up with vulnerability. And I said, you know what? I have trouble reading this stuff too sometimes. And you know what I do? I try to take a text-to-speech app and I listen to it instead. And sometimes I listen to it on double time so that I don't get distracted, because it forces so much information to come in that your brain doesn't wander in different directions when you're trying to listen to it. So the student said, wow, I've never had a professor that's quite this relatable before, that says what they're struggling with. But it's amazing how much you can connect with others if you approach things with vulnerability. So we can also see this in our public lives as well. And we saw in Brené Brown's speech, The Power of Vulnerability, she talked a lot about how the people that are most deeply feel the sense of love and belonging in life are those that are vulnerable with other people, those that accept that it takes courage to share your story and to connect with others. I think the same is true in all other aspects of our lives, in relationships, in work, with our children. If we approach all of those with a courageous vulnerability, then we can connect better with others, helping them not only in the moment, but for the future of their lives as well. Thank you.